Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are here today. We are going to discuss about a little recap of Week 1, what transpired, some surprises, some things that we saw going that way, and then we're also going to get into the game pick competition for next week. Welcome aboard. If you're new to the show, hey, wipe your feet. You're welcome to come right in and do us a huge favor. Head over to YouTube, hit that subscribe and that like button. Also hit that notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. And as well, of course, you can follow us on Facebook or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Joe. And like you said, definitely with our picks competitions, there were some hits and definitely misses for me. And it doesn't. It never surprises you. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Every week you never know. And we had our overreaction Mondays, and everybody's taking in what just transpired. But first things first, last Thursday, again, we knew Detroit was going to be a force to be reckoned with here on defense against this Kansas City Chiefs that was lacking a Travis Kelce. But, the Chiefs did pretty well, I think, throughout the game. Not too bad, but that Detroit defense, though, and mainly Aiden Hutchinson, he was unstoppable. Where you always saw 97 in the backfield throughout, where he lined up at different spots too. It wasn't just off the edge; it was up the middle, all around. And whoever he was lined up on was getting back there and pressuring Patrick Mahomes, to where it ended up being a factor. And if it wasn't for just Valdez-Scantling, really making some plays here for him, on some of those deep balls, it could have been worse for the Kansas City Chiefs because we did see the offensive line struggle, and even their right tackle here line off sides multiple times. Like you talked to me off the air about it, where it's actually an illegal formation because he was so far back, and they talked about it on the broadcast too. Absolutely, and we were watching it with our physical eyes. How he's even jumping earlier, and Chris Collinsworth's trying to make up an excuse of like, this is why he's getting off faster than everybody else. But I'm like, is he listening to what he's saying? Because he shouldn't be starting before anybody else. Everybody starts at the same time unless you're running motion as a receiver.
Juwan Taylor, you're new to the team. Guess what? We're going to do you a huge favor. You get to start before everybody else, before we snap the ball or anything. So that way you get a head start. No, I mean, it was absolutely insane for the referees. And listen, they deserve all the banter. They deserve all the heat right now because kickoff, Thursday night, under the lights, the very first game of the season. This is how the season's going to go, guys. Like, this can't happen. So for you to allow Juwan Taylor, the right tackle of the Chiefs, to clear as day, was moving well before the snap a lot of times. Not all the time, but a lot of the times was getting away with it. And then on top of it, to not even call a false start, but now on top of it, the guy's so lined up in the backfield, he might as well be a running back. No wonder why he's getting a head start on Aiden Hutchinson. But guess what? Even after all the advantages that guy had, the position to be that far back and everything, he had a head start. He still couldn't lock up Aiden Hutchinson. That dude is a beast, and he is here to stay. He's going to wreak havoc against a lot of offenses, and Week 1, it was the Chiefs, and they had no answer for him at all.
Absolutely, and again, you saw that team stick it throughout the game, and at the end, they were able to get it done. It was good for the Lions to do something like that again, but you saw just even that little bit that I think the tight ends were playing well. Noah Gray and those guys were doing well enough.
Oh, yeah,
but
for sure.
You just see that little bit of the difference of not having Travis Kelce in there as a receiving threat. And that's what he just really didn't have, because when he was relying on a Kadarius Toney, he let him down multiple times throughout the game, including multiple drops in that last drive to take the lead, to come back and win this game, and let him down. They couldn't get it done.
Well, his short-handed receivers weren't actual receivers; they were tight ends. Like the other tight ends that were involved,
Yes.
they're good. They're real good. They're good players. So I honestly, like, maybe in the second half, Andy Reid should have threw the playbook out and said, hey, you know what? Guess what? We're putting the tight ends at wide receiver, and we're going to let them all play all at once, and they're going to catch the ball. They're going to do some contested catches and make some plays, and maybe that's what they needed to do. And who knows? We might actually see that in week 2. I know they're not going to give up on any said player that fast after 1 week, especially the first week, but Kadarius Toney, man, you got to get it together, bro. Like you got to start get back in the lab and just work on catching from Patrick Mahomes. Work on catching from a jugs machine. Like you need to get it together. And the same thing with guys like Sky Moore.
Yeah,
Sky Moore is another like, and to me, Sky Moore is disappointing in a different way. It's not just about the catching. It's his route running is not that great. He's not as quick as you would like him to be. And you can't say, oh, well, he's still young and he's still a rookie. No, now he's in the second year. Like, you had to progress, and I haven't seen any progression from him. So, really, they only have one legit receiver, and that's who you mentioned before, MVS, Valdez-Scantling. Like, that's their go-to guy now. And if you're able to, cap him off, if you're able to kind of take him right out of the game, you might literally have the Chiefs in a hard spot. And you bring up Travis Kelce. The thing with him is, he's dynamic. We all know that. But now, like, it's unlike Chief offenses of past. It sounds like you only have 2 weapons that you can rely on when Travis comes back. Yeah. And is that enough? Like, because I don't know, like they're used to having a lot of weapons at Patrick Mahomes' disposal, can stretch the field, can throw underneath, they give the ball to Isaiah Pacheco, they give the ball to Edwards-Helaire, like they can mix it up. Now it's like this offense, it was once a very dynamic offense and very tough to stop. I know it's only week 1, but maybe Detroit showed us that, hey, this offense, 1, isn't the same, and 2, maybe they're not as dynamic anymore as they used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other games, too, I was thinking about is what do you think about Tampa Bay and Minnesota and Baker Mayfield's start as, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback? At first, it wasn't looking so hot.
It was
for
rough.
It was rough, but they were sticking with Minnesota for a little bit, but it wasn't until even after halftime is when they really started to click. And it was funny because I read something here about Baker Mayfield, and Rachaad White had said that at halftime, Baker Mayfield had said something to the offense, gather them all together, and said, listen, I'm looking at this defense and I'm seeing the signals they're calling whenever I do certain things or whenever we do other things, and I'm watching. He goes, whenever they do this, they're going into cover 2. Whenever they do that, they're going cover. So he figured it out. He figured out their signals.
Right.
And that's why when he came back in the second half, was able to kind of pick them apart and cut them up when they were up in their zones. And it even showed in that Mike Evans touchdown towards the end of the game.
And that's the thing is, like, everyone thinks Baker Mayfield is like a blockhead. Like, he's just a dude that he just goes out there, slings the rock, and he doesn't really know what he's doing. No, he's really smart as well. And just right there, like what you were saying, he picked out the signals. He started to figure out the defense, and then in the second half, sure enough, they got better. They sort of started moving the ball more. They put points on the board. And then to couple that with their good defense that they have, they were able to come away with the win.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the other games here, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Again, you and I had both talked about what Chicago was starting to look like at the end of the season last year and what they did in the offseason, including the draft, and maybe they can make a turn for the better here, but got embarrassed by the Green Bay Packers, and it started to come out early here, what this offense under Jordan Love was able to do here, and it took me by surprise, and they just kept scoring and just didn't let up. I mean, Chicago couldn't get it together here.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I actually thought that the Bears were more equipped to come out in week 1 and be pretty successful because now there's no more excuses in Chicago. Justin Fields has had plenty of time to acclimate to the position. He's, and unlike last season where he had lack of weapons, lack of pass protection up front due to injuries and everything, now it's a clean slate. This year's a clean slate. Not only did they upgrade the offensive line, but they also upgraded on weapons. And now it's like you can't point the finger like, oh, well, we don't have a real tight. No, you got Cole Kmet. Oh, we don't have wide receiver. Oh, no, you traded and you got DJ Moore now to pair him up with Darnell Mooney. Like, there's no more excuses. Like, the excuses are out the window. So you got a running game, you got an all-line, you got weapons, and the offense still looked putrid. It was absolutely terrible to watch. If you're a Chicago fan out there, you had to be super upset at what their performance level was. And then on top of that, their defensive side of the ball, where was the defense? They made a lot of changes and improvements. Like, they had no linebackers. They traded away Roquan Smith. They bring in Tremaine Edmonds. They bring in TJ Edwards to fill those roles. And they have other players already there, like guys like Eddie Jackson and so forth, but where was the tenacity? Where was the defense to actually stop a first-year, basically, Jordan Love at the quarterback position and try to shut him down or at least slow down that offense enough to where your team could put points on the board? I didn't see it. I was very disappointed in the Bears more than I was surprised about the Packers. Because the Packers, there were some unknown. We didn't know what to expect from Love. We didn't know if he was going to struggle at all, or maybe the moment might be too big for him. But it wasn't. He showed everybody. Not only is he poised and confident in the pocket, but he was distributing the football to a lot of different receivers, getting the ball out quickly. The running game we knew was always going to be there. But again, this offensive line, how long can they stay healthy? Well, how much will that impact as we get deeper into the season? Can Love continue his success after week 1 if this offensive line starts to get banged up?
Yep, we've got our first comment of the night here, Joe.
Here we go. Brandon Wynn. Oh, welcome to the show, brother. He said Claypool trash. Love definitely showed out. Oh, Jordan Love definitely showed out, and he agrees. Yes. Excellent.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And Claypool again targeted twice, nothing came up, nothing. And it's kind of funny
What's happened
with him. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like kind of was that deep ball kind of threat a little bit for Pittsburgh, and then kind of tapered off, and then. Again, when he got traded, you thought, all right, well, he can his contract, his career can turn around and go to Chicago. He can maybe be a good, target for them. A good receiver, and just non-existent.
Something that's weird to me is like, Claypool coming out of the draft, I was enamored with. Mm-hmm. I loved him. I'm like, this guy could be something lethal at the next league because you look at the size, obviously, and then speed to go with that tremendous size. It's like, how could this guy not be good? Because he does run decent routes. He's not the best route runner, but he runs decent routes. Mm-hmm. My thing is, I think he's being used wrong now. Because now after we've seen him into the league, like in college, he was an outside receiver. But now because of his size, because of, he's not as quick as a lot of these other receivers in the NFL, maybe you need to kick him inside. Maybe kick him in the slot and have him like just be that possession guy, like short yardage, catch the ball, run with it, move the chains, like that type of, maybe that's the type of position that he should be utilizing in Chicago or wherever else he might end up going if the Bears move on from him. Because right now, it's not looking good for Claypool.
Yeah.
Like, we're not seeing any production out of you, even on another team. And, who knows with that team? That team does not look good right now. We got some more comments down below. We got... He said, let's get to those Niners. He wants us to rush and get to that Niner game.
Hey, why not?
He said he showed no effort. You're right. I don't know what that deals with that guy. And then Brandon Wynn goes bang bang. Brando, we got Brando Matthew here. He said, "Go Niners." See, Niners fans are starting to stack in.
Here we go.
They're starting to hop in. We might as well just jump right to that game right now.
Absolutely. Again, it was, I think, closer in early on. And again, you get to see two good defenses against each other. But again, that offense, with the weapons. I mean, you can't, when you've got, Christian McCaffrey running there too, and they kept him in even for a while during the game, which is kind of funny because you got so many other guys behind him that could still run the ball and get some play time after they got that bigger lead. But when you got him, then you get Brandon Ayuk, and Debo was used even a little later, but. Hey, dude, you can't do it. But that defense, though, solid, and Pittsburgh had no answer for it.
I gotta say, Brandon Ayuk had a coming out party.
Yeah.
Finally, we're seeing the Brandon Ayuk that a lot of Niners fans have been looking forward to seeing. Like this guy, week 1, now hopefully continues that success. But week 1, man, he looked really, really good on the football field.
Yeah, Brandon Matthews says Steelers need to move on from Harris.
Oh, really, Najee?
Then he's thinking now. So then now our Niners fans questioning with going with Harris. So we watched that draft, Joe, and we even said okay, because we were begging for them to pick offensive line, because they needed it at that time.
Oh, desperate.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they go with Najee Harris. We're like, all right, that's cool. I get you need a running back to try and get something, but how far is he going to get without that offensive line to help you out?
Right.
And again, now you've got some of these. With Pittsburgh, maybe people questioning, that draft pick.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like the Niners, they came out guns a-blazing. Mm-hmm. They weren't going to stop for nobody. They weren't going to be easy on Pittsburgh. And this is the thing too, is like normally West Coast teams, they kind of got to feel the game out. Like when they get to that east side of the U.S. Mm-hmm. And maybe they struggle a little bit, but the Niners, it just took them one quarter really. After they started to get down what the Steelers were trying to do against them, and the Niners ironed out some things offensively, you started to notice the talent gap. You started to notice the coaching gap, and the team and the Niners just came on strong and they didn't let up all the way to the end. I mean, Niners are definitely one of those favorite teams in the NFL that are going to return to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Unless something catastrophic happens to the organization.
Oh yeah.
This is one of those favorite teams. This is one of the favorite teams to make it to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And the great defense that they have in place, the offense, which is very tough to stop because they have so many weapons. And let's just say Purdy looking great once again. Like after the injury, comes back healthy. He started to throw as training camp came down to a close. He started to throw the ball more and loosened up that shoulder, and now he's letting it go. Letting it go, and he's scoring points.
Yep. And he plays with a lot of energy and, swag. He's got that attitude about him. You know what I mean? He's got the spazz. Exactly, man. You see it. He gets fired up. All right, well, we got more comments here.
Yeah, we got Brandon Matthews said he had over 1,000 last year.
Yeah.
Yep. Brandon Wynn, he said barely. And then we have Matthew coming back. He said Pickett played with a bad concussion, they said. I mean, yeah, he had a concussion, but here's the thing is you're not supposed to play with a concussion.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be on the football field with a concussion. And if that's true, expect an NFL investigation on the Steelers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
But, hey, good game. Niners came. They saw, they conquered, and enough said. On to the next week for the Niners.
Yeah, absolutely. Philadelphia, New England. Philadelphia had it kind of early on, and it seems like they kind of put the foot off the gas. They played a lot of zone towards the end, I noticed, and that plays right into the New England Patriot way, and you got to see some of these guys. And, people had asked me early on the season. I told you about Franklin even saying, Patriots receivers, like, who do you get? I'm like, maybe Kendrick Bourne, because it seemed like Mac Jones has really liked throwing to this guy, and he ended up having one hell of a game for him, getting, more targets than usual. And, they kept it close towards the end again, but the defense kind of backed off a little bit and played right into the Patriot way. Then they had an opportunity to come out with this victory, but just in the end came up short, couldn't get it done.
I mean, honestly, like the Eagles, they kind of let them hang around, and part of it is because of the injuries. Like James Bradbury went down with a concussion. And that's kind of where you started to see them start to change things. Nakobe Dean went down with an injury. He's going to miss the next 4 weeks. So they had a little bit of adversity first week for the Eagles. And that's kind of what helped the Patriots able to stick around and make that game a real game. So defensively for the Eagles, I think this isn't their best outing. Obviously, they had to change some things, and that's why, like you just alluded to, they went to a zone, and that kind of helped the Patriots to stay in it. offensively, I feel like the Eagles, sometimes I think that Hurts tries to do too much. And you started to notice, like, when he ran with the football and he fumbled the ball and turned it over in that game, it was like, dude, you know this guy's coming to hit you. Like, cover up with both hands. Do not let that ball go. You know, and there was a couple of turnovers in that game where the Eagles gave the ball back to the Patriots, and luckily the Eagles defense kind of bailed them out on that. So turned out to be a really good game. I kind of expected it where the Eagles were going to come in and kind of like take over Foxborough and like not necessarily blow them out, but I thought they were going to win by like 2 or 3 touchdowns. And but a lot of adversity, to say the least, and that's what kind of kept that game close.
Yep, absolutely. And the Chargers in Miami, that ended up being a shootout.
Jesus.
In the end. Miami comes up with it.
Where's
and,
the
they
defense?
got the receivers there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that defense, we talked about it. Defensive-minded head coach should have it locked down. You've got Kellen Moore calling the plays now, and you kind of saw it. It showed. What was it? Austin Eckler had like 117 yards rushing, plus another 38 for, I think, Kelly. I mean, they just mixed it up and were really running the ball effectively, and it kind of seemed like, all right, well, Justin, you don't have to do a whole lot. Just, make some plays here and there. But then when it came to crunch time and they had to get it done, it just didn't matter. Now defense, like you said, gave up the big play, Tyreek Hill, and now they're going home with a loss here. But
quite honestly, the Chargers offense was not disappointing at all. They were the bright spots of that team. Kellen Moore with the play calling, great play calls, great execution on the football field with Herbert and company. So I feel like the Chargers offense, I'm not worried about that. I'm really concerned about this defense of theirs. You got all this talent on that defensive side of the ball, and you couldn't stop the Dolphins. You could not stop their high-powered offense because, honestly, we go back to last season with this Miami team, and they were explosive then until, obviously, guys started to get nicked up with injuries on the offensive line. Tua got his concussions. That kind of derailed that offense a little bit. But now this season, they're back, and they look just as dangerous as before. So Miami and the Chargers went neck and neck and went back and forth, and it was like there was no defense. The only defense that I did see was small periods of where the Dolphins defense would get a sack or, they make a big play, big tackle or something. But other than that, like neither defense for either side was making enough of an impact. But hey, Miami came out with at the end, won by 2 points, and they escape L.A.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we got a couple more know-it-alls in the house.
What we got going on here? We see. Oh, Stephen Bogucki in the house. Welcome to the show, brother. He goes, Jets will still make the playoffs this year. Oh, bold. He made a bold statement.
He did.
He's like, I don't care if Rodgers is done for the year. We got Zach Wilson.
Who knows?
So listen, it could happen. Let's see. Let's wait and see.
There's a chance.
We're saying it's a chance. Let's wait and see what Zach Wilson has been able to develop into now. Has he matured more? Has he been able to become a better quarterback under Rodgers in the offseason? Now he's going to really be put to the test. But that is a bold statement, to say the least. Yeah, what's up, man? He just said, what's up, Joe?
What's up?
What's going on, Steve? Hey. The Jets, listen, they got a great defense. We know that. Their offensive line is healthy because they just started. And they have weapons. Garrett Wilson, so let's see what they can do. Breece Hall's back, of course. He made a very big impact.
Absolutely.
But I think the Jets, they got all the pieces. They do. They got all the pieces around that quarterback position. It sucks that the guy you traded for, the guy you got to be your starter, is no longer going to be with you. But hey, we picked the Jets. You and me, Jimmy.
Yep,
we picked the Jets to upset the Bills in opening Sunday night there, or Monday night. And hey, they pulled it out. It was a very exciting ending.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, because again, I've been following this, with the stats for a while here, and I looked back at last year because, and that does matter with these two teams because basically the Jets and the Bills, they didn't really change a whole lot with their team. A lot of the same nucleus of guys are there. They've added some talent here and there. Like the Jets have added Whitehead from Tampa Bay, which ended up working out well for them that night.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
pretty much the same thing. So I was looking at it, and they played them tough. They held the Bills. That defense held them underneath 20 points in both games last year, and did the same in this game.
Right.
Without Aaron Rodgers. Unfortunately, yeah, you said Aaron Rodgers goes down after 4 plays. I mean, that blew my mind. Once I saw it, I was just like, are you serious?
When he got no, here's the thing is like when he got injured, you're like, it's a calf issue. He's had it in the past with Green Bay. Oh, maybe it's just going to be sore. He'll be right back in the lineup. That's what you're thinking as a football fan. You're like, no big deal. And then all of a sudden you see the cart, and you're like, Rodgers getting on the cart. Oh, that ain't good.
Yeah,
that ain't good. That could be maybe he's out. Maybe it's such a high degree strain to the point where like, oh, now he's going to be out several weeks. Okay, so you're like, now you're waiting as a Jet fan or a football fan, waiting to hear the news, and boom, bold letters, Rodgers done for the year. What? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So what? It's a setback. Oh, but no. Listen,
we suck again.
The Jets, they are going to, persevere. They're going to persevere. They're going to still work with the guy that they had before as their starter, and Zach Wilson, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this is the one thing here as we talk about this topic, and I've got it nicely named: the Jets experiencing turbulence.
That's right.
But
okay.
That Zach Wilson is the only quarterback on the active roster right now, Joe.
I like it.
Tim Boyle is on the practice squad, so most likely they should probably call him up.
Oh, no, they will.
But are they good with that? I mean, we've seen everybody talk about this, and this has got to be the headline, and everybody is bringing up.
Who are they trading for?
Well, who they got to make the trade for? But then, because then you even look at who's out there. Okay.
Right.
They brought up Nick Foles. All right. That looked really well for him. Yes, he's won the Super Bowl here for the Philadelphia Eagles, but look at the team that was around them as well, and that was years ago.
Right.
This is him coming into a different offense he's not familiar with, and his stint in Chicago didn't really work out for him either, where he could have easily taken the starting role there. So what's it going to do for you bringing him in? All right. Matt Ryan was another one. Matt Ryan is comfortable, I think, with where he is with Atlanta and the Atlanta organization, when helping them out as a coaching role and as a, things like that to help these guys, not officially being a coach for them, but helping as an advisor and maybe moving into a different, career. You saw what happened when you tried to get him over to a Colts team that thought they were possibly ready to as well, and it didn't work out for him as well there either. And he's not exactly, the best right now, as he's an aging quarterback. So to make moves like this, and then Joe Flacco was named too, and that, but it's for me, it doesn't seem like to make any sense. Let's bring another veteran quarterback in for what? Like we just talked about it. He's got to learn the playbook. Those veterans can do it fairly quickly and stuff, but you're bringing somebody in fresh. It's got to kind of figure it out. That has had some kind of success in the past, yes, but hasn't really done anything the last few years. Again, Joe Flacco, he was already with the Jets. What did he really do? Not a whole lot. I mean, he had barely had a good time or a good chance of taking that starter role before.
Right.
So it only puts Zach Wilson behind more, because what do you do with this kid who had lost a starting job to Mike White at times, so you're going back and forth. Now they go and bring in Aaron Rodgers, the Hall of Famer, this guy that's bigger than life, but happens to be his idol. So he's okay now with him taking his spot, but he took it as a mentorship. And Aaron Rodgers brought it on as that too as well. You saw in training camp where he was showing him different moves that he does even to get, out of situations, and even kind of giving him coaching advice, or just even saying, hey, kid, you're going to get this, don't worry. It's going to be your job. That's going to be you. You know what I mean? Not saying, hey, I'm going to step aside, hold my beer.
He didn't do the Joe Flacco.
Yeah, no. So it would just wreck this kid's, confidence in what he has new. And even players and coaches had said that he's different this season from last year when he was even calling out his defense and giving up points and things like that. He's different. He's changed. And I think just bringing in Aaron Rodgers and being that mentor and that idol for him, and kind of even, bringing him down to earth a little bit, but then, taking the advice has changed him a bit. And I think you got to roll with Zach Wilson, because also there was a reason why you drafted him so high. Unlock that potential. Unfortunately, it's got to be up to Nathaniel Hackett to do it, but he was successful in Green Bay when he had done it before. So They were able to do it let me tell you, they were able to do it on quick notice last week with limited type of plays. Because remember, he was only taking reps with the second squad anyways. So be with the starters again, trying to get things going. And when you're not even expected to play, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy that's taking you to the next step and come in, had some rough patches. But if you rely on that running game that they have, that 1-2 punch, you can make it so far with a tough defense.
Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall, those are two good running backs that you get at their disposal. I'm not all in on Nathaniel Hackett still. Like I think even in Green Bay, like Matt LaFleur, that was his offense. So that's kind of where I'm still waiting to see how good of a coach he actually is.
This is where we'll find out.
We've
right?
seen him struggle. Listen, he struggled as a head coach in Denver, couldn't hack it there. And then he goes to the Jets, and now he's an offensive coordinator. And now he's calling plays. That's kind of the position he had in Green Bay, but he wasn't necessarily calling them, but helping up with the game plan, sure. So we'll see what he can do in New York going forward. But as far as Zach Wilson is concerned, like, listen, this is his opportunity. We talk about opportunity all the time for a lot of players that don't have big names, for a lot of players that are up and coming. This is one of those things. Not necessarily an opportunity to say, hey, let's just say, for example, he has a average to above average season, right? Just argument's sake. He learned a lot. He got better, and he had a decent season. That doesn't mean Rodgers is out the window now. They're going to move on from him. He's not coming in there to take over, so not yet. But what it does do show you as a Jet fan is maybe there is some promise with Zach Wilson. Maybe he can develop to be our franchise quarterback. So that's what you're really looking forward to now this season. I think it's a very bold statement by Stephen Bogucki there saying that they are still making the playoffs even without Rodgers, because, again, you don't know what you have in Wilson just yet. We've seen him struggle. We've seen him show flashes in the pan of highlights, but let's see him put it all together and have a lot more highlights this season. That's really going to be the indicator.
Absolutely, and still focus on that.
Just real quick, I kind of just thought about this. Is you brought up a point where you're like, well, yeah, you could trade, you could sign a free agent quarterback, you could do those things and make a change, but when you have a guy that's already in house, who's still young, who's still developing, who potentially could be your future, don't you just stick with him? Because let's just say, for example, you go into the free agency, right? And you're looking at the available free agents and you're like, well, we could bring in this guy. We could bring in that guy. But now what do you have? Even if they are vets, like you mentioned, like they can usually pick up on offenses a little faster than the younger guys. But guy comes in, okay, learns the playbook, but it's 3 weeks later. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're 0-3 in that span, still waiting for him to get it all together. Then he finally gets the playbook down. But guess what? Now it's almost like, even though you have practice in between Sundays or Thursday nights or whatever, you still have to get acclimated to the team as a quarterback. You still got to learn how all these receivers run routes. Chemistry. You have to build that chemistry with them. The timing of all the routes and how these receivers catch the ball. So there's so many other variables involved that you just bring a new, fresh quarterback in, whether it be trade or free agency. That's not a quick answer that you're not going to be successful anyway. Mm-hmm. So why not stick with the guy in house? He already knows the playbook. He already has chemistry. He's practiced with this team numerous times. And let's see where the Jets could actually go.
Dreams come true.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've already beaten the Buffalo Bills right now, another powerhouse that's, again, in that division, which, again, that's one route to make it to the playoffs. Right. Beat the people in your division, because that's all you got to do is finish well in that division. So you've already taken them down once at home. Now, when you go to face them in Buffalo, it's later on in the season, and it could be a lot tougher for you there. And maybe they will learn from their mistakes in this one, because Aaron Rodgers goes down, Zach Wilson's in. The Buffalo Bills had to have been salivating on this. And you saw even on the defense, and Matt Milano was all over the ball. Right. Normally, again, a big run stopper, which he had done a few times in this game, but was able to get some offensive or some pressure on the quarterback too as well. But that Jets defense, if they are as good as they were and played in that game, I thought a highlight for them too was Quincy Williams too. Quentin Williams' brother played really well at the linebacker position and even breaking up a couple plays here. Did really well. But to focus on to our next subject here.
I got something to say. Like you brought up free agent quarterbacks. Here's free agent quarterbacks that are available right now, guys. You let us know who you would trust and be confident in if he was to come in the Jets uniform. You got Carson Wentz, like you mentioned earlier. You got Matt Ryan, C.J. Beathard, Chase Daniel, Bryce Perkins, Joe Flacco, and Nick Foles. So I'm sorry, but out of those names, hell no. No, I'll rock with Zach Wilson. We'll see what we can do with him.
Yeah. Because, again, the kid can make some plays with his legs, too, which we saw in the game, too.
Yeah, very
it's just,
mobile.
Again, get better at reading some of the things.
Yep.
And his wide receivers need to help him out, too, as well. Because, again, you know, I think it was mentioned in the show, too, about, during the game, about, Garrett Wilson trying to settle into that zone and stuff like that instead of finishing his route out, running into the defense again. Ad-lib a little bit, get into open space so then it's easier for him if he's got to get rid of it quick, get rid of it. But Breece Hall, welcome back, Joe. How about that? And again, everybody's big on the Dalvin Cook going there. And we knew in fantasy, a lot of people even tried to draft Dalvin Cook ahead of Breece Hall. Right. And I was thinking, like, dude, you're fine, but forget about this guy was there and how electric he was before he got injured. And he just picked up the ball and just, right where he left off.
It's funny because
if it wasn't for a Garrett Wilson celebrating early, he would have took that thing to the house.
I know.
For the touchdown.
And that's the thing too, is like everybody was, because he's a big name, everybody was waiting to see where he was going to end up. And then I kind of scratched my head. I'm like, why would he go to the Jets? Like, they have Breece Hall. Like, I didn't think for 1 second that Dalvin Cook was coming in like everybody else. And they were like, well, Cook's going to be a starter. No. Breece Hall is the guy. Breece Hall is the franchise running back for the Jets. That's what I expected to happen. Dalvin Cook, hey, just like you said earlier, it's a nice 1-2 punch that you have there. Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall. Now, even if, because we know that Dalvin Cook has an injury history, where he gets banged up, he misses some weeks, he comes back, he misses more weeks. Sometimes he misses the whole season. Like, he does have an injury problem. Needs to correct that. But even if that was to happen, you have Breece Hall. If Breece Hall happens to get hurt or is going to miss some time, you have Dalvin Cook now. So you got two guys that can start for a team, basically. So very nice depth there.
And like I was saying, that kind of moves us into our next subject with not the best being the best week for top quarterback. Are we going to talk about the Cleveland game? Yes, we are. Okay. We're going to talk about it right here.
I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. We are in just a bit. But let me just bring up even the fact that Josh Allen, overall stats, he was looking good. But this whole mentality that he has and where he's got to put the S on his chest to be a Superman and trying to make these bigger plays, and he won't settle just for, the sack or running out of bounds or even getting to the ground. The fact he's got to still try and hurdle, still got to, try and do these, and seeing a guy deep and trusting in that his receiver is going to get that in double, triple coverage, it burned him 3 times. And overall having a stat line of 1 touchdown, 3 picks. He got sacked 5 times, so he was still getting the pressure, but he fumbled twice too as well. Oof. And in a game where you don't have Aaron Rodgers anymore, Zach Wilson comes in fresh. And, you got to be able to make the plays, especially if you're supposed to be another Super Bowl contending team and a playoff team. You're a top tier quarterback, and you're saying you're trying to eliminate those bonehead mistakes that you did back in season 1 before Brian Daboll kind of turned him around. People are going to look at you in a different light, and already I'm hearing chatter about that, and some people even calling him out and stuff like that and saying, hey, maybe he's not all cracked up of what we used to, of what he is, because he seems like he can't get it out of his own head. He takes everything to heart mentally and then starts, beating on himself for the mistakes he does, but he doesn't change things about it too. He still keeps making the same mistakes.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Josh Allen at all. It's week 1. Like, a lot of guys made mistakes. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, it's X's and O's. It's simple X's and O's. Like, as a quarterback, you're not supposed to throw it into double or triple coverage. You just know that. So I feel like it was just Josh Allen in week 1 trying to make something more than what was there. And you're right. It is a decision-making process that he has to go through. He definitely has to correct those issues. And I feel like because it's only week 1, it's the very beginning of the season. Who knows? Maybe he was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna go for it. We're gonna go for it, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. And the Bills overall had a rough time against the Jets. Mm-hmm. Like the Jets defense was really bringing it to them, and just like you just mentioned, 5 sacks. The O-line didn't pass protect extremely well for him like they have done in the past. And yeah, you're right. You know, Josh Allen, he's got to take what's given to him. They got to take what's there. You can't force a deep pass because you want to make the big splash play. If it's not there, it's not there. Dump it down below. Throw it to the guy that's 10 yards down the field instead of the guy at 30 yards down the field. So that's something that he has yet to correct and has yet to manage well. But again, I just kind of think that maybe because it was week 1 and he's trying to make something big happen and to because you know how momentum plays in these games where if he was to make that happen, boom, crowd's back in it. The Bills teammates the morale goes up, and then who knows, they might be able to come back and they win the game. So I think that might have been part of his mindset too. It wasn't what he was supposed to be doing, but again, we've seen this happen before. And Josh Allen, he can take over games, but again, you're right, where he's got to kind of reel it back a little bit, correct your mistakes this week, come back next week, and don't ever make those again.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what Sean McDermott's got to tell him too. Because again, when after the game's over, they asked Sean McDermott, "Are you concerned about Josh Allen?" And he said yes, that he is concerned. And we've seen
because it's week 1 and he screwed up.
Yes, we've seen this even with the Buffalo Bills. Very transparent about what goes on with them, not like the Patriots.
We got ourselves an OG in the house.
Yeah, Mike Tackett's in the house with us tonight.
My man.
Mike Tackett said he goes, now with Rodgers out and New York retaining their first-round pick.
That's right.
Did New York Jets win the trade with Green Bay? Yes.
No. Well, I don't think
yes.
so.
You're not giving up another first-rounder.
Yeah, I guess
that changes everything.
Yes, they won the trade. Yes, but Aaron Rodgers stepped on the field for 4 plays.
Yeah,
and then you don't have him. So
you'll have him next year.
You'll have him next year, hopefully. Yes, because he said he's dead set on coming back. You know, he gave a whole line on Twitter and everything.
Now it's almost like
X, whatever
it's almost like he's taking a whole season off.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously it's injury problem, but now it's like, so this is my thing. Here's another question.
Yes.
Now that he has this whole season off, basically it's voided. He's going to come back. Definitely, we knew he was going to come back next year anyway, even if he played all this season. But now that he's out because of injury, does that mean that Rodgers is going to be like, I'll come back in next year. I'm definitely coming back like I said I was going to. But now, because I missed this year, I'm playing another year after that.
Who knows? We shall see. Maybe
he's young enough. He can still do it.
Hey, maybe it's not enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe he says, I want to give that extra year. Yeah. I think I gave you guys 2 years. Maybe we'll do it. But yes, it was interesting about that whole thing with if he was, they was going to turn into a first-round pick for the Green Bay Packers if he was going to be there for them.
Appreciate the comment, by the way, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, that's what everybody's talking about now. And in fact, even that he went down, I wasn't sure if there was something in his contract, too, that said if he was, say, an injured or healthy throughout the season, he got a bonus or something like that, too. And
well, he's making a lot of money, so that bonus stuff doesn't matter. He's making a lot of money.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
But really, it was that draft pick was the big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Green Bay's like, no, you got to be kidding me.
Yes. But again,
was it set
for
up?
me, it's
set
just
up
tough
to fail?
Yes, he's found a way to screw the Green Bay Packers once again, which is another karma in itself. We talk about a Jet thing, and this is like a Jet thing that happens to them. They get Aaron Rodgers finally, and then injured the first game.
Right.
But again, this is a Green Bay Packers thing too. Any way they can get screwed by these guys, he's going to be able to do it for them.
That's it.
It worked out. But hey, Jordan Love looks good for him right now so far in week 1.
We'll see. That's week 1.
Yeah, so let's talk about the game we were kind of getting to now, and the fact that we're talking about quarterbacks that didn't play very well. The Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Cleveland came out. Look at that difference with even Jim Schwartz there as that defensive coordinator for one. I saw a lot of different pressure from all over the place from multiple guys.
We knew that was going to happen too. That's what he's known for. He's known for trying to confuse quarterbacks and bringing pressure from all different angles, much like Vic Fangio does. He does kind of the same thing. But, man, I'll tell you right now, the Browns' defense looked something serious. They not only created a lot of pressure, but they messed up. They totally made Joe Burrow feel like a child out there. Like he couldn't do anything right.
No.
Like, he dropped back. There's pressure in his face. He dropped back. Oh, this guy's trying to run out of the pocket now, gets sacked. Like, there were so many things. And then even when he got pressured, there wasn't anybody wide open. There wasn't guys that were just kind of like,
yep.
T. Higgins struggled. I don't even know if he got a catch in that game. Did he have one or two?
I think he had one.
Like,
I remember seeing one. Yeah.
It was incredible. The Browns defense put on a display for sure against Cincinnati, an opponent that we thought, like, honestly, we thought this game was going to be like a field goal
at
game.
The end. It was closer.
A field goal is going to win it, and may the best team win. But man, I gotta say, disappointment on the side of the Bengals. The defense played; they were average against Cleveland, but Cincinnati's offense, man, wow! Even with the upgrades on offensive line, even with with their stellar receiving core and Joe Mixon in the backfield and all these things that they had at their disposal. And Joe Burrow, man, he struggled big time. And I guess statistically, he's always struggled in week one. So maybe he'll get it back together coming up week two. They're pissed. But Cleveland, Deshaun Watson did not struggle. Deshaun Watson played really well, for his opening game. And it's only going to get better. With all their weapons that they have at his disposal, with Elijah Moore, he had like 4 or 5 catches in that game. He really kind of spread the ball. Amari Cooper got his deal and all whatnot. And Nick Chubb, we talk about the guy all the time. We both are on the same plane with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is definitely one of the meanest dudes as a running back. Like, he can make you miss. He can run through you. He can catch the ball in the backfield, which he's displaying more now this season. We saw that in this game too. Now he's catching the ball more in the backfield. But man, the Cleveland Browns looked serious. And if they're able to put on a display on the football field like they did against Cincinnati, a rival, let's see how much better this team can get.
Yep.
Mike Tackett coming in said, why is Cleveland Joey B's kryptonite? Also, is this a byproduct of his contract we knew was coming? Yeah, because everybody's making that a big deal now because Joe Burrow signed this ridiculous contract, highest paid, insane. And then right after you sign this big, huge deal, you come out in week one and you lay an egg. You're not playing up to par. So, I mean, obviously it's a team game, so we can't blame Burrow for everything. But, man, Cincinnati did not look good. Joe Burrow did not look good. And hopefully they get it together in this week.
Right. I mean, again, it was a closer game early on, even despite the defense, what was going on with the Cleveland Browns really pounding on Joe Burrow. And you bring up his stat line. He only had 82 yards. His completion percentage was 45%.
Oh, wow.
The worst I've ever seen ever on a stat line. 0 touchdowns, 2 sacks. Did not have any interceptions at all, but again, hurried multiple times. And the key was missed throws. He was missing guys, even when he wasn't getting hit, but just pressured. He was missing targets, and that's where it really killed him. Because, again, they had some receivers where they had opportunities for some back shoulder throws or some other things, and he just flat out missed them. So and he just looked off. And that's kind of what Cleveland's defense was doing to him. Even when they weren't getting in there every single snap, but because of the amount of pressure they were putting on him, it got him to rush his throws. It got him to just, got to make something happen. I got to get rid of it real quick. And then it sails. He didn't have his footwork down. There's a lot of things that was disrupting him as a quarterback.
And that's kind of what led to those, overthrows and whatnot.
Yeah, and as far as Deshaun Watson, for me, I thought he did enough to win, at least made some plays with his legs. But for a guy, too, what he was paid to get there and potentially get to where he was, still on a long road to get to where he was. Again, he only had 150 yards and an interception and a touchdown. And the touchdown that he had, also he had one rushing touchdown, one passing touchdown, but had to run for it because there was nothing going down, and was able to get the touchdown. That really sealed the deal for them. But overall, a team now that really understood Kevin Stefanski, and since they've gotten Nick Chubb, really has to be focused on the run, and Deshaun Watson not make mistakes and maybe run himself and just protect the football. Don't have to make the spectacular plays. Just, get it to whoever you got to, whether it be David Njoku, your tight end and stuff like that. But let Nick Chubb do the workload. Even without having Kareem Hunt there, still the same guy. And like you said, and we talked about it, he just runs different for me. For me, it's like watching Nick Chubb. He's almost doing a dance out there. He just glides across the field so effortlessly and just zoop, 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 just making it sweet, just goes. And his speed, his quickness, everything. So really impressive run by him and the showing by the Cleveland Browns. So this is what they wanted, what we kind of saw from them, you know, before they went to get a Deshaun Watson. Maybe this season is the season that we finally get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, Nick Chubb has always been the workhorse for this offense. I mean, they're predominantly a running team, but they do like to, now that they have Watson back for this season, no suspensions, he's had a whole offseason. He played pretty well, I feel like, against the Bengals defense, so let's see how much better this team as a whole can get.
I feel like the Bengals should have ran more with Joe Mixon because he was making some plays too. It wasn't like they were stuffing the run and they had to go like pass all the time. It just seemed like they wanted to stick to a certain formula and try and get back in this and get maybe Joe Burrow getting in rhythm. It just wasn't happening. But I think if they stay with the run a little more and try to get Mixon some more plays and kind of keep it safe that way, then you're not asking a lot out of Joe Burrow to make some plays, especially when he was, really nursing that sore knee and things too. So that would help him out for some successful plays. But hey, week one, like you said, they're not usually that good either and stuff. And it's early on. They lost, I think, the first two games of last season and still made it through the playoffs. So
yeah, what's
it's a long
interesting
season,
too
Joe.
Is week one, right? All the road teams went 10-6 as all collectively. That is the third highest in NFL history for those road teams to go 10-6, which is pretty incredible. Yeah. And that's also showing you that it's not so much home advantage. you know what I mean, this season so far.
Absolutely. All right, and then one other quarterback that didn't play as hot, even though they end up pulling out the victory. But it was close early on, but then eventually, they took out a stronger lead here to make it 25-9. Is the Baltimore Ravens, but mainly that defense was doing well. And yes, you had a few different injuries here, and the fact that you didn't have
injuries for sure.
Mark Andrews in the game really shows, even though you've got the weapons like an Odell Beckham Jr. and things like that. It showed just a difference in not having that outlet that he's safe to going to, in Mark Andrews and stuff. But Lamar Jackson, his stat line, 169 yards, 0 touchdowns, and INT, 2 fumbles, and he got sacked 5 times. So he was getting pressure from this Texans team, who still has something to fight for and was still doing really well to keep themselves in this game. But just, again, They're not a good team right now. They're still feeling it out, still trying to move forward.
They're still rebuilding.
But Baltimore and Lamar Jackson not having the best game. Luckily, is against one of those teams that are still building. Next week, hopefully, we can see some Mark Andrews there with him.
And that's the other thing too, is that can't be an excuse anymore. It can't be an excuse for Lamar Jackson anymore. He's got weapons. Now he's got weapons. He's got running backs. He's got everything. Isaiah Likely was a tight end for because Andrews was scratched. Yep. So where was Isaiah Likely? Why didn't they implement him into those? Because, man, he runs like a wide receiver.
Yeah, he does, and he's had some big games for him. So,
like, where was the offense overall? Like, Lamar should not be struggling then. He was in camp. He was practicing. Like, let's see an evolved Lamar Jackson, and we didn't see it. So far, we haven't seen it. So maybe week 2 it'll be a little bit different.
Yeah, and after all, too, we talked about Odell Beckham Jr. being there and stuff like that. Zay Flowers, the rookie, ended up making plays here for him. Out of everybody,
dynamite.
Out of all the stars that he has there on his team, and now the wide receiver talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no more excuses, Lamar. That's it. Show up.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so. So that's one thing about week one. We talked about a bunch of different things. Let us know, is there anything else you guys want to talk about out there? Joe found an interesting tidbit out there in the fact that now the NFLPA wants to remove turf now because of injuries here, and they're pleading with the NFL to comply and try and do this as fast as possible due to the multiple injuries that are happening due to turf. And it could be even, too, we've heard of complaints about the New York Giants Meadowlands Stadium and how it's even tacky and people get stuck in their ankles. Maybe it could have contributed to the way, Aaron Rodgers went down because the way his leg dug in and snapped, but you don't know. But injuries piling up. They're saying it's turf. They want to get rid of it and go back to natural grass. It's funny how we've come full circle with this, Joe. It's been grass. And then they went to AstroTurf, which was like concrete with a carpet over it.
That's rough.
And then they've got now the other turf with the rubber little pellets that go all over that we saw all over Daniel Jones' face because he was eating it the whole game. We didn't talk about that at all.
Right.
But yeah, now the fact that they want to do this and change this.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, the NFLPA, they're trying to make it a bigger deal than what I think it actually is. Like, yeah, there are some turf fields, and this is like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. There were some turf fields where, like, man, these are just bad fields. Like you mentioned, the AstroTurf. That was like those days, and they were those turf fields were inhibiting players from playing longer because they were getting injured more often, and they did the statistical evaluations and research, and they're like, oh no, this stuff is no good. We need to get rid of this stuff. That's why they came up with the newer stuff now, the new turf. And so far, like when you compare natural grass to this new age turf, there's not a whole lot of information saying, well, definitely the new turf is worse than natural grass still. Like there's not enough information to say that, well, you have way more injuries on this new turf still than natural grass. So because of that, I feel like the NFLPA, like they're just trying to come up with something to kind of change it so they don't have to hear it from the players anymore. Because I can only assume
the players do complain.
I can only assume that there's so many players complaining about turf fields and say, hey, well, my boy was on the field, he got hurt last week, or I got hurt last season, whatever the story may be, and they keep hearing it, and they're like, well, maybe this is a bigger issue. Maybe we should push for it. And that's why you're starting to hear right now NFLPA coming out and kind of demanding. They're kind of making a statement right now like, hey, NFL, you need to make all fields natural grass. Make them all natural grass, and then we can kind of avoid this. But here's the thing. I think you're still going to have these injuries. You're still going to have all this happening. So right now, the CBA that they agreed to back in 2021 is still in effect until 2030. So if they were going to try to like maybe get back to the table, they can't. It's locked in until 2030. So I just don't know what the course of action is right now for the NFLPA. Like, you can demand it all you want or suggest it or whatever, but the NFL could just be like, all the owners get together and they're just like, no, I'm not changing my field. Are you changing your field, Jerry? Nope. I'm not changing my field.
Unless you're going to give me money to help do it.
The only thing NFLPA can do is like maybe say, hey, guess what? Players, we're going to go on strike. How many players to me would be that upset over fields to say, I don't want to get paid?
Too, though, and things like that.
Yeah, they're everything.
So come on. I think it's another thing
that's
going to blow it off.
Is that I don't think the players would be on board with saying, hey, okay, we'll go to strike to get this changed over, and we won't play until it happens. I just don't see that, because you do that, you stop getting paid. Now you're sitting out not doing anything. And, for what? Over fields?
Yeah.
I don't know if that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But all right, so now it's time to get to week 2, Joe, or week 2 picks. Here we go. Here's the stat line.
Oh, boy.
After week 1, Joe, you went 12-4. I went 8-8. So you're right there. So there you go. You really got a good jump off the load here. For the
It was
first start,
it was
but
all luck, really.
it was tough, and again, you saw the Cleveland Browns game happening. Maybe not as bad though. Like you said, you saw them winning, but not as badly. For Cincinnati.
We got
and
another.
stuff, but-
We got another know-it-all in the chat right here. He's said
right.
that when more high caliber players start getting hurt because of the turf, they will do something if the NFL doesn't. Well, guess what? There's been plenty of years where high caliber players have gotten hurt on turf.
Yeah.
And here we are.
I think
still
Nick Bosa
playing.
was even one of them where he got hurt and he had complained about
Because,
things like that.
Right, because- and
the
that
turf.
was-
I mean,
that
that's
was
gotta
like-
be one of your biggest stars
that-
you have out now.
That's going back to the older school turf. Like now with this new age turf, injuries still happen. It happens. It's a violent sport. You move awkwardly, you're going to get injured sometimes. So I don't know if the new age turf is really that detrimental to the players, because there's a reason why they made it the way they made it. Yeah. They made it to give similar to grass. It's not going to ever be natural grass, but
Right.
they made it similar to give away to the cleat and all that, to limit injuries. But I don't know if until they do the research and start putting together a database of information, grass versus the new age turf, how many injuries happen on the new age turf in the next 5 years, and then how many injuries happen in the grass in the next 5 years, we're really not going to have a definitive answer.
Right. And what's funny is that's even changed the way high school, local sports and things have done things. How many
Look at all the high schools
college
now.
and everything. Yeah.
College,
That's what I'm
high
saying.
schools,
They've
they all
changed
got
them
new
all
age
over
turf. There's no more grass.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
So there must have been something
Gotta
shown
be some kind of information.
information that this is the way to go.
Or maybe
it's
the-
safer for everybody.
or maybe
just,
the schools are just tired of, the grass
it's
is all
just
ruined.
shitty, it's all mud all the time, whatever, let's not be muddy anymore. Who
We
knows?
don't want to, pay the maintenance crew to maintain it anymore.
Yeah, right? Yeah, who knows?
I don't
That's what
know.
I mean. It's
We'll
like,
see.
yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like Walmart has the new look, and they got look all shiny new displays and shit, but it's still Walmart, so it still sucks, and you still got scumbags going to Walmart in their pajamas and shit, So it's like, yeah, I guess so. It's just a new facade. All right, here we go. He says,
Mike Tackett came in. He goes, 15 years ago, turf was a must. Now grass is a must. I blame it on the NFLPA for limiting practices. You're absolutely
ding,
right.
ding, ding, motherfucker.
That's right. You gotta get the sound
I had
bite.
that one ready.
That doesn't have the
I had
same
that one
effect.
ready. It doesn't.
But Mike, really appreciate your comment.
Exactly.
And
That's what
we
it's gotta be.
absolutely agree with your comment for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And that's the thing. It's one of those things where players, say, "Hey, no, we want this. We want this. We want this."
Ding,
Well,
ding, ding,
there you go.
motherfucker!
The league gives them that, and now it's something else. Now that's well, no, we don't want this anymore. We want this, this, this. All right, we'll give you new age turf. All right, no, now that we've had it for a while, no, we don't want this anymore. We want to go back to what it was before. So you can never please everybody. It's that simple.
There you go. He says fewer practices means players aren't as conditioned, in return causing more injuries.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Again,
We've been saying that on the
how
show
long?
since day one.
Yeah.
And Mike Tackett knows it.
He does.
He's one of our
He's
OG
been there for it
know-it-alls,
all,
and
so.
thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
Because that's the problem. We think that
Yes.
the injuries are mounting up and keep climbing because you scaled back practices so much. There's no more two-a-days. There's no more two-a-days where you had 2 practices in one day. You're grinding, you're conditioning all through training camp, and they took away contacts for the most part.
Yeah.
Now there's no full contact in practices. Your body gets conditioned with what you put it through. So if you do less things, less physical activity, less working out in the gym, less anything, guess what? The output of your body is not going to be as great. But think about it back in the day when there was 2-a-day practices before training camp. Then training camp came, and it's they're doing full contact drills. Listen, everybody's body's adapted to it. You know what I mean? Yeah, there was injuries still, but not as much as we're seeing today.
Yeah.
Where your body's oh, I took a hit. No, that's okay. I do this every day. It's fine. you're seeing more injuries happen now. Now that the practices are scaled back, now that there's less physical activity involved in off season. You're right on, Mike. Right on.
Yep, absolutely. And it'll fall on deaf ears, though, I think. Again, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
we've been screaming at the
it,
top of our lungs here, NFL. Like,
Yep.
what's going on?
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, Joe, it's week 2 coming
That it
along.
is.
There's going to be some tough picks here on this
What do
one,
you mean
too.
some?
I mean,
It's
yeah,
going to be a
it's gonna
lot.
a lot of different ones. Because the thing is, too, after week 1 is like how much of it was just another team wasn't prepared enough.
True.
And then,
There's
just
always
not
that.
ready.
Yeah.
And how much is for real? I
Right.
mean, real or fake? Who's real or fake after
exactly.
week 1?
Like, is the struggles of the Bengals, is it because of Cleveland, or is it because they always start off slow? You know what I mean?
And
Like the
again,
Giants.
when you talk about preseason too as well, Giants especially, they didn't play.
They didn't come out of the locker room.
They didn't play in all of the preseason, really. They barely did. That starting line never really played. Daniel Jones never really played in the preseason that much.
So, that being said, John Turner, it's for you, bud.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think this, but do you think a lot of these teams are now doing this where they're resting their starters, I feel like, too much? Like in preseason, they're not allowing them to play enough in preseason games to where when you're in live action to get ready for the season like they used to. They used to play them a lot more. Every game they played a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And just to get live action speed and to get the timing down and everything's fast. So that way when week 1 comes, you're ready to kind of just hit the ground rolling. Now, there's so many like big time players, starters, not really playing that much. And then we get to week 1 and now it's like, now you're playing the whole game. And you're seeing a lot of mistakes. You're seeing a lot of miscues. And I feel like that's really kind of what's happening.
I think it is, and it doesn't matter. Like they talk about, they were so worried about Aaron Rodgers playing in the preseason and him going down, injured early in the preseason. It didn't matter because it just he played week 1 and got injured, and he was out for the season.
Jim, I got a pet peeve. Before we
I know
dive
you
in,
have a lot of pet peeves.
Before we
Maybe not
dive
as much
into
as I
week
do,
2,
but-
I got to say
sure.
this. What is the NFL scheduler doing? Look at Monday night. Look at the game times Monday night. You know how it used to be a doubleheader?
Yeah, it is
Now-
the doubleheader this week.
No.
What?
Now they're playing at the same time just about. One's an hour later.
Well, yeah, it's staggered.
It's stupid.
They did that a little bit last year too. They practiced, doing that, and yeah, I
didn't
thought it was
see
dumb
that
too.
last year.
Yeah, last year they did it too. They
I
didn't
don't
do it
think
like
so.
2 different times. Yeah, they tried it. I'm telling you, dude, because we
An
have,
hour apart?
It was roughly around that time. It was maybe about
No
halftime,
way.
maybe not an hour, maybe
I'd
2
have to go
hours
back
apart.
and look.
It was
There's
staggered
no
though.
way.
Not that close. But it was staggered, and we talked about it on our show because this was a new thing they were looking to do
This is bad.
for multiple years. This was a multiple year deal that
This
they're
is
going to do
terrible.
staggered starts this way. And again, yeah, I don't get it. Like, why? Like, why do people want to switch back and forth between the
I
channels?
don't. I
Or
want to
what are they
watch
gonna
one
do?
game, and then if you're going to do a doubleheader, that's great because then I can watch one game and then watch the next game if I feel like.
The only reason they do
This is
it
terrible.
and their reasoning behind it is because of East Coast people complaining about when it's off like that.
Guess what?
How often do you start the early game for the
I don't
West
care.
Coast people or whatnot?
You don't have
And
to watch the
how
second game.
Late do you start the one for the East Coasters who get the game finished around 12:30?
Not buying it. Not buying it.
That's what it is. I'm telling you, that's what it is.
This makes me upset because now I can't watch both games separately. Now you got to flick back and forth with it, whatever you feel like.
There you go.
crazy.
What is it? Mike Tackett's got a quote for us.
He said, "They are
who we thought they were.
and
We
we
let
let
'em
them
off
off
the
the hook." Rest in peace, Dennis
That's
Green.
right, absolutely, Dennis Green. That's another good one. I got to get that one on here.
Yeah, so I mean,
I know
that's
Monday
terrible.
nights it's going to be tough.
That's terrible.
Yeah, one's on ABC and one's on ESPN or something like that.
Even
too.
worse.
So whatever. It's still Disney, hoarding everything,
For now,
But see, we saw how quick that showed for them, to go on their own here without charter and stuff. It was
That's
just about as
terrible.
fast as Chris Jones saying he was going to hold out, right, Joe? For that contract, right?
Yeah.
It was having just as fast.
that's it.
But anyways,
hey,
here
the
we
Chiefs
got-
lost the week 1.
Well, I
Oh,
tell
that's
you-
it. Panic button. Sign Chris Jones.
Yeah, but
Give him what
Bolden
he
did
wants.
really well though too for the Chiefs though, man. He was balling.
Huh?
Bolden was balling. For them.
Oh, Bolton?
Yeah.
Nick Bolton,
Yeah.
the linebacker? Yeah, he
Yeah.
always balls, though.
He
That's
was
not
doing
surprising. Him and Willie Gay.
Last year, Monday Night Football, Week 2, Titans at Bills, 7:15. Vikings at Eagles, 8:30. See?
Oh, that's terrible.
Boom.
That's terrible.
Told you. I was on that shit.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I know it is
completely
bad, but
disagree
I'm
with it.
telling you that it was a thing that a multi-year deal that they signed or whatever.
That's terrible.
And I think it is because of East Coasters getting the later game on way too late or whatever, so they tried to bump it up early, and trying to change
Terrible.
that. So,
NFL has failed once
everybody
again.
can see it, but you still got to see it at the same time.
No, that's the problem. You can't see it.
Channel, so. I guess if
Can't
you
see
have
it.
Red Zone or something like that too, you could do the quad cam and stuff right on YouTube. So if it's, but would it be on?
That's-
if on Sunday Ticket. If it's still on ESPN, they still have every game.
Well, you got
still,
YouTube.
right? Yeah, on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is the one that has the.
So that's what they maybe that's their deal too. They got that such a big deal because they even have NFL Kickoff brought to you by YouTube TV. So.
Oh,
they're
we got a
cahoots,
problem. We got a problem.
What's up?
We just got some new news.
What's up? Breaking news.
Yeah, we got some breaking news right now. Just got reported. Darren Waller, everybody. The Giants have finally revealed that he has possible nerve issue with his hamstring.
Oh,
So, that really sucks. I was so looking forward to seeing Waller kind of help that Giants team get back to win their winning ways. Not so much right now, but this is just yet another blow to the ship here for the Giants. I don't know how serious it is. It doesn't say that, but again, an injury is
Let's
an
just
injury.
hope. Yes.
And we'll have to wait and see if he can overcome it or what's going to happen there.
It's so because he was like the only spark of anything in that whole game for
that
the
game.
Giants, which wasn't much of one.
Yeah, the offense wasn't much of anything.
Yes, but
Daniel Jones, run the ball by yourself, just like you did last year.
Yeah. Oh man, don't even get me started on that. That was terrible. It was
All right,
absolutely terrible.
we're going to
Anyways,
move on to week 2.
Week 2, Minnesota, Philadelphia.
Tomorrow night,
Yeah,
Minnesota, Philly, huh?
Minnesota
So
at home. Right? No, Philadelphia's at home. Man,
Yeah, Eagles
this could
are
be
home.
a tough one because Minnesota
It's a very
could start
tough one.
off 0-2 right here. Philadelphia.
Here's the thing.
looking good, but
So
again,
both teams are going through a little bit of injuries here. Like we mentioned earlier in the show, Nakobe Dean, the linebacker, he's not going to be making it. James Bradbury, because of concussion, he's going to be out. Minnesota, they're not going to have their starting center. He's going to be out. And I believe one other starter for the Vikings, I think their another lineman or something. Again, week 1 hurt a lot of teams in terms of injuries. This is going to be pretty rough. On a short week, they both got to play up. Minnesota coming to Philly. This is going to be a really good matchup, I feel like. I'm not so quick to this week to just say, hey, Philly's going to romp Minnesota. I feel like this is going to be a semi-close game, at least early on. But I think with Philly being, it's their home game. It's opening up the season here. And I think they're going to look to make a statement. And I like the Eagles being at home. I think they thrive with the crowd and everything. Minnesota Vikings, they're still going to put up a fight. I'm still not keen on their defense yet. So I think that's going to be kind of their Achilles heel. They're going to have to try to match, score for score with the Philly. I got the Eagles in this one.
Yep, and I think maybe you're thinking there's a couple of different people here, but Christian Darrisaw is limited in practice.
That's right.
And Marcus
That's right.
Davenport is also limited and questionable. Both are questionable for
Yep.
the game.
Yep.
So that could be big if Darrisaw and Bradbury are both out.
No,
That's your-
Bradbury's
I'm
definitely
saying
out.
he's definitely out. I'm just saying if both are out, that's bad because that's your two best players.
Well,
on
your
your
center
offense,
is pretty bad
Yeah.
because now you're relying on the play calls of a backup center, and who knows, is he as good of a blocker? Who knows? You know what I
Yep.
mean? We're gonna find out tomorrow night.
Now I hear you again. Minnesota again. I think they're fairly good, but again, Minnesota or Philadelphia at home again. I see Minnesota going 0-2 to start off the season here. I like Philadelphia. All right, next we got Green Bay Packers in Atlanta. If you asked me about this week one before everything, I'd say Atlanta's probably got this one edged out possibly. But the way Green Bay played last week with Jordan Love and stuff, and even the defense made some good plays too as well. Going into Atlanta, this is a tighter matchup here, Joe.
It's definitely a tighter matchup. Green Bay played extremely well, especially defensively last week. I mean, they really were playing, hitting on all cylinders last week. Like the quarterback play of Jordan Love, the running back with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, like everybody was working. They were making things happen. Atlanta was doing kind of the same thing. I mean, Atlanta had some surprising plays where they were able to find a lot of success in, especially the running plays. They utilized both backs, Tyler Algier and the new rookie and Bijan Robinson. I like what to see. Now, this upcoming game, they also might be getting back another weapon in Cordarrelle Patterson. He's limited this week, so they're waiting to see from him. And Jeff Okudah might be making an appearance for Atlanta, so he's limited as well. That could definitely help them out too. Green Bay, listen, I'm no longer going to overlook Green Bay. But I don't know. Something tells me about this game where I almost can't not pick Atlanta in this one. I like their defense. Their defense looked pretty good last week. And Green Bay's did too. But I'm going to kind of lean towards the unpredictability of Arthur Smith's play calling. And I'm going to go with Atlanta on this one.
Yeah, it is tough. Again, you got two young quarterbacks here at this one.
Could go either way for sure.
It could go either way again. Who knows? I'm still questionable about the Green Bay. I'm not sure. Is this the team that can do well this season? Are they turning it around? Or was it just a flash in the pan against a bad Bears team? That's the thing.
Bad performance by the Bears for sure.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, it could be just, Green Bay just played a bad team and just they looked that much better.
Yeah.
So
now I feel like this is going to be a test for Love, you know?
Yep. So in that manner, I'm going to go with Atlanta too as well and just feel it out. If we lose this one and Green Bay wins again, then maybe for me, I shall question.
Going forward, it's all Green Bay.
Right?
The rest of the season if they win.
There you go. It's like, with the Giants now for me again. I think I'm going to do what I did last year and just bet against them every single game. And they won every time I did that, just about, almost, and it did well for me. So
I don't think that happened for
them. So
that's not
let's
why.
see. Well, anyways, here we go. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo at home. Raiders just barely edged out the Denver Broncos here in a close one.
That's always close.
Yeah,
Division
Buffalo
rival.
looking to right the ship at home. I think Buffalo is going to be able to right the ship at home. Again, Josh Allen needs to settle down, get back in his own, in the zone here, and fix the mistakes that he did last week here. I think he does, and they come out with a win here at home against Vegas.
I mean, they're going to the East Coast, guys. West Coast teams going to the East, they usually struggle, especially early in the game. And I'll tell you right now, after last week, they beat Denver. They squeezed by them. They got it done. But the one thing that I noticed that is still a problem and always will be a problem until they correct it, that defense doesn't look good. The secondary might be better, might be improved, but, man, there's no linebackers on that field when they're playing. That's how bad it looks. So because I feel like the defense hasn't really improved, I think it might have gotten worse, actually. So I'm going with Buffalo all day long.
All right, here we go. We've got the Baltimore Ravens.
It's an easy pick right there. That's an easy one.
It was. Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. This one's close because, again, Baltimore's defense, another great defense here, Cincinnati needs to face against. Hopefully there is no rain here in Cincinnati for them because it seemed like that's what was partial some of the mistakes here with Joe Burrow, too. Couldn't get done. He threw off multiple gloves to try and, onto the ground to try and get something tackiness here with the ball. So, maybe he was having issues with that. But Cincinnati, can they stop, and block, though, too? Because it seemed like they couldn't at one point. So I think if both teams are smart, they run the ball back and forth. It's going to be a battle of the trenches here with running. And then just let's see if Cincinnati can battle back against this Baltimore Ravens team. But it's going to be a tight one, Joe. What do you think about this one?
I mean, the Baltimore Ravens got hurt. They're hurt. Marlon Humphrey, he got hurt. I don't know if he's going to play. That's the thing is, like, we're midweek right now, and they have like 2 solid practices to determine whether a guy is going to play or not. And man, there's a lot of injuries there. And you look at the performance of Lamar Jackson last week. Man, you played a Houston Texans team that is rebuilding. Yes, they're still going to play competitively and whatnot, but man, early on, what are you doing, Lamar? Like, you're not getting better as a quarterback if that's what you're going to show us. Like, You don't deserve the money that you were holding out for. Honestly, we need to see better play from you. So this is another big test. And they played Houston, mind you. Now they're playing Cincinnati, a division rival. These games are always like black and blue, like very physical, low scoring. Sometimes people get bored with these games. But a lot of defense is going to be played in this one. I'm sorry. I think Cincinnati is pissed. They are so pissed right now. And I can't get on board right now with Baltimore's offense. They got all these weapons. It's a new offense with Todd Monken, calling the plays. But, man, with the performance that Lamar showed us, man, I just don't have a lot of trust there. Not to mention with the injuries there. I'm going to go Cincinnati in a rebound game here.
All right.
Bengals going to win.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you here, too. Joe Burrow gets the haircut, too, and trying to change things up. Maybe that'll help him do better here. Again, I think part of the rain was a factor, tough defense, so
real
they
quick,
could maybe get it right here at home.
We talked about injuries against the Ravens. So Mark Andrews, he's limited, which is a good sign. Midweek and you're limited, that most likely he's going to be playing. Left tackle Ronnie Stanley did not practice today. Center Tyler Linderbaum did not practice today. Corner Marlon Humphrey, like I mentioned, did not practice today. And their safety, Marcus Williams, newly signed safety, did not practice today. So let's just say worst case scenario, if those four don't make it, this could really change this game.
Absolutely. Yep. And you no longer have J.K. Dobbins either. So, I mean, but, they're good with a running back by committee. But, again, it'll be a tough matchup here against Cincinnati. Next, we got Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions. Detroit, if they can get through that offensive line like what happened with Seattle here last week, and we noticed that Seattle did end up having injuries at offensive line, and that could be the factor partially why they're getting rushed so badly to where even now everybody's mocking even Geno Smith for saying, oh, my God, when he sees Aaron Donald here in his face. But you're going to say that, too. Seriously, you're looking, and all of a sudden he's right in your face already, unblocked. That's the reaction you're going to have. So Seattle, again, at home usually plays a little better just because you have that home field advantage. Detroit, they're getting loud at home now. They're almost Seattle 2.0 at this point, the way they've been rocking in that stadium there. And the way they just come off a big win against the Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions. I like this Detroit team. I like their defense, and their offense can play well because, again, the Seattle defense didn't look so good either last week. I like the Detroit Lions here at home to go 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I'll say this is I think that Rams game got out of hand quickly because the Seahawks lost their tackles. And as soon as that happened, there was no answer. The pass rush was in Geno's face, and they just couldn't get anything rolling. No running game was there because of the lack of blocking. Abraham Lucas, last year's rookie, Charles Cross, last year's rookie, were starters. Last week, they both went down. So far up to this point in this week, neither one of them has practiced. It doesn't look good. Lucas has been officially, as of today, placed on IR, so he'll be out for at least the next 4 weeks. So there you go. You lose a left tackle. Charles Cross, not a definite to play this week. He might miss some time. The only positive for Seattle is that they're going to get back this week. They're going to get back the rookie Devon Witherspoon to make his debut, and Jamal Adams, who's healthy once again. He'll be returning to that defense. So other than that, I mean, man, Detroit, what they were able to do, like Jim said, against the Chiefs, I think they're gonna pour it on against Seattle, knowing that they don't have a true left tackle there. I hope and I expect Aiden Hutchinson to be moved to that side and wreak havoc on that second string guy because, man, Detroit at home, we know they play hard no matter where they are, but man, at home they live off of the fans here. So I'm going to go with Detroit in this one. I think Detroit it's going to be a close game for sure. It's going to be very physical, but I think Detroit is going to end up taking this win here.
All right, next up we've got the Chargers.
A lot of home games so far.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at that. I'm like, if we go off of what happened last week, we're screwed this week. It's just what it is, Right. But we've got the Chargers and the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee making it close here against the Saints. Chargers just not edging out against those tough Miami Dolphins. But Miami's got a powerful offense a really super great defense. Tennessee, their defense has been pretty good too, top 15 at least for last year. Did well last week against the Saints. But again, that offense still troubles me again. You got to go through their running back and stuff, and it's nice that they have a DeAndre Hopkins here, though. But still, you got to be able to muster up more points than what they did last week against the Chargers team here. I think, talking about bounce-back games, I think this is one that maybe the Chargers can have in still a tough game because Vrabel, his teams, man, they don't give up, and his team is always in it.
They definitely don't.
So it's going to be a tough game, but I think the Chargers can edge it out, and this will be my first away team that I pick.
The Chargers, a couple things that kind of concern me right now. There's a hamstring issue for Joey Bosa. He hasn't practiced today, midweek. Let's keep an eye on that for Thursday and Friday. Eric Kendricks, their newly signed middle linebacker, he also didn't practice today, but it was due to personal reasons. So Joey Bosa to me is a concern. Last week, it was almost like he was irrelevant, to be honest. Like, I feel like the Dolphins' offensive line did a really good job against him. Other than that, they're pretty healthy. Mm-hmm. That's kind of hilarious. They're like one of the healthier teams in the league at this point. Tennessee, they're difficult. DeAndre Hopkins made his debut. He didn't practice today, but I wonder if it's like one of those veteran rest days or something like that. But I will say this about the Titans last week. They played the Saints very tough. They were right there, right to the end, and they just lost by 1 point. It's crazy. Chargers, I'm very disappointed. Not their offense. Defensively, I'm really disappointed. So, again, I'm going to kind of stick with the home field advantage here, and I'm going to pick the Titans because I'll tell you right now, as of last year, even last week when they played the Saints, the defense for Tennessee is nasty. Like, you have hard time running on them. There's no way you can run on them all game. So I think with that said, the Tennessee defense is going to look to make the Chargers one-dimensional, not allow them to run, and put all the pressure on Herbert. So I think that's going to be a deciding factor there. I'm going Tennessee.
All right, we got the Chicago Bears at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa, again, put on a pretty good showing here, did better than most thought they would here, the way people view kind of Baker Mayfield as a starter. Chicago just, again, laid an egg. Can they bounce back here against this Tampa Bay team? I don't know. Tampa Bay is really tough on defense, and they've got the weapons. And, again, you just get, in the way if Baker Mayfield's able to dissect this team the way he did against Brian Flores' defense here, the Minnesota Vikings, it looks good for Tampa. So I'm going to roll with Tampa here at home.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Chicago greatly disappointed once again in that team. I cannot believe that after all the, I guess, a little bit of hype for that offense being healthy, being upgraded and whatnot, and the defense as well. Like I expected a much better, output by them in week one. Didn't see it. I think maybe that kind of continues. Tampa Bay, by no means, with Baker Mayfield at the helm, is going to light it up. But I still feel that the Buccaneers is going to get the better of the Bears.
All right, here we go. It's Kansas City Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars had a slow start a little bit last week, but started to get it together late. Kansas City, I thought, again, and Patrick Mahomes did really well, and he did his own thing, but minus a few different things, with the drops, by Kadarius Toney, but still making plays with his legs. Yes, they probably should have called the offense, the illegal formation or false starts multiple times. We'll see how the refs play this one out, see if they let them go. But I still believe in what Mahomes can do for this team and what they have over Jacksonville. Jacksonville just started to get it going last year. They were a little slow of a start last week. I think they have a slow of a go here against Kansas City here too as well. And then I think eventually towards the end of the season, I think they'll get back in that groove again, but just not right now. I like the Kansas City Chiefs.
This is going to be a tough game. I don't think Kansas City is equipped like they used to be to kind of like maybe just blow out the Jaguars. Maybe it's not going to be, like an afterthought. But, man, what I noticed last week, and I know Detroit is a decent team, but I noticed a lot of weaknesses in Kansas City's team. Like, even defensively, like, none of their corners really scare me. Like, their Juwan Taylor doesn't scare me after what he showed. He's just he's like a nervous Nelly over there playing right tackle. And honestly, lack of receivers. Like, really, So, I mean, I don't know what to expect from Kansas City anymore. I think, obviously, with the return of Travis Kelce, most likely he's limited right now. Most likely going to be a full go, so he'll look to return and make a big splash there. Jacksonville, again, still kind of a fairly young team. They made a few splash plays last week. Zay Jones made a tremendous catch in the end zone. I expect the Jaguars to kind of hang in there all the way. I really do. But I think that maybe Kansas City might just barely do enough to get the win.
All right, the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. Here we go, Joe. Two young
roll the dice
quarterbacks right here going at it, but Richardson looked really good early on here too. Again, Colts got out there with a lead and was doing well, and then it kind of went away from them. And they came back down to earth here. But Houston kept it close early on and then just couldn't get it done against the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. So these two teams get to face off against each other. But, I mean, they're tough because Houston's building. Indianapolis had something, but it depends on how sold you are with their quarterback. This is going to be a tough matchup here in Houston, too, because they always play really tough at home.
Yeah, and Houston is, no stranger to injuries in week one. Jimmy Ward didn't practice this week. So, and the same thing for their other safety. Jalen Petrie left with a bruised lung. Don't know if he's going to even be able to come that soon back to the lineup. Other than that, you look at Laremy Tunsil, who's been a pretty good tackle for them. He didn't practice this week. I just kind of don't know what to expect as we get towards the end of the week in terms of health-wise. So I think I'm kind of going to go I think I'm going to go with the Colts this week.
All right.
I think it's going to be a battle of the rookies here. But I think the Colts looked a little bit better than the Texans did in week one.
Right.
I'm going with Indy.
Yep, I'm agreeing with you on that one. The San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams here. Again, the Rams.
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy?
And if you look at that, too, that game is kind of weird. They did well against Seattle, but not really well in any particular spot. I don't think they really did great on defense. They did enough. Matthew Stafford didn't have a great stat line, didn't throw any touchdowns or anything. He had 300 yards still, though. So he got to where he needed to get to.
Mm-hmm. And then they ran the ball.
They punched it in.
They
ran it in.
I mean, they're being smart.
Yep. So, if he could just do that, stay sharp and not have some of those bonehead turnovers that he's kind of known for, all of a sudden he'll give you a can of corn out there for you to take.
God, I hate that
He
term.
can get it done. Yeah, but San Francisco, if they play the way they did last week, again, Brock Purdy with that confidence, that almost arrogance that he has almost, dude, this dude is crazy. They got to get this guy on the next, discount double check shit, commercial. You got to get this guy in some commercials because this guy's fiery. I like what he's doing. But I like San Francisco in this one here to beat the Rams.
Yeah, I think this is where the Rams kind of get woken up. Cooper Kupp's still not going to be there. So the Niners are just that much better. It's just that simple. Their offensive line, their weapons, everything. Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. It's going to be hard for the Rams to even contend with that. And then I just don't think the Rams have enough firepower on defense, really. We talked about it in the offseason about how, they're not really anything special on defense anymore. And, week one, they took advantage of guys that they lost their tackles. The Seattle Seahawks lost their tackles. They took advantage of it. That's simple. Niners not gonna work out there. I'm going San Fran.
All right, the Arizona Cardinals again. They came out firing a little bit too, and Josh Dobbs, looked good for early on and stuff. But again, Arizona came back down to earth, and just the fact that there's not a very good team, mistakes made and stuff. And luckily for them, they're, or for the Giants, we're playing Arizona this week. So the Giants, nothing went right. Evan Neal seems like he isn't progressing at all. And then even the other offensive linemen, again, it seems like almost like Daniel Jones said something to offend them the night before, and they said, fuck this guy, dude. Here we go. Everybody, come on in. Just hit him. Take him out. And they're just looking at him on the ground. You like that now? You all right? You satisfied? You apologize yet? Because it was terrible. It was terrible to watch. Yes, I get the Dallas Cowboys, defensive line and what they have. They do have some great talent there, making some plays. But this one seemed way too easy. It
Right.
was terrible. And then the fact that play calling, again, looked very dull to me. And some of the bonehead things, like, again, like calling quarterback sweep on like a 3rd down and long, this makes no sense to me. When you're trying to get back in this game, you got to get Saquon and Barkley involved. Yes, he did not make that catch, and it turned into a pick. But, again, Trayvon Diggs, I'll give him credit, dude. He did make a good play. Crown of the helmet, hit his hands, knocked the ball loose. It wasn't a Saquon Barkley drop.
No.
He knocked it
caught
loose.
it.
They made a play, and it's it. Week's over. Let's restart, and what a good team to play here in the Arizona Cardinals. I like the Giants here to take this one.
This is a great team to play.
But it could be close here because, again, the way the Giants have been playing, it's going to be closer than it should be.
It should not be close. You're absolutely right. They should take full advantage of playing Arizona right now. They don't even have an offensive line. Mm-hmm. They don't. You look at the roster, and it's a bunch of guys that they just picked up off of the free agent heap and hoping that they work. Mm-hmm. Cardinals also, man, this is like a revenge game. For Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah. He played well for the limited snaps that he was out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you can only do. He just got there.
Defense played well for the time they were out there, all 90 minutes or whatever.
Until they got tired.
Until they
got
tired.
And they're just like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
But no, Isaiah Simmons, this is going to be a revenge game for him. So a lot of his teammates are going to ball out because they're going to want to show Arizona like you screwed up.
Yep.
So look for him to kind of make an impact against his former team. I got the Giants easy.
All right, here we go. Jets and Dallas. Here we go, the Dallas Cowboys. So
this
now we get
is
to
exciting.
see the two defenses that really showed up in the first week here. Let's see what they're really made of. Let's see what this offensive line can do. Again, they didn't do well enough to protect Aaron Rodgers for the first 4 plays, but it seemed as when they got down to it, they really kind of gelled together and were able to get it done and to protect Zach Wilson, even though he did scramble out a little bit, but he is very mobile. He can make plays. Let's see what Nathaniel Hackett, like Joe said, let's see what he can do. This is a test to see what he is. How can he get success here with a Zach Wilson here? Because he was there just solely to get Green Bay or get Aaron Rodgers there, and then he got him there. So let's see what really you can do as an offensive coordinator. Let's see some good schemes here. Maybe some more checkdowns like I saw with that Breece Hall checkdown when the blitz came and just didn't get underneath. Run the ball, make it efficient, do what you can do to limit turnovers and things like that, mistakes that Zach Wilson might make. This is going to be a tight game. I hope the Jets can come out here with a win. But I'm going to just go on the other side just because Dallas at home, that place is going to be bumping. And that defense, if they play as well as they did last week, you got to watch that 4-man front there. I like the Dallas Cowboys in this one.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because both these teams don't play each other hardly at all. So because of that, we saw what happened with Detroit and Kansas City. When you don't play each other that often, you really don't know what to expect from each other. You can go off of film from seasons before and all that, but when you're playing each other, it's a little bit different. So because of that, for this Jets and Dallas game, we really don't know what to expect. Yeah, Cowboys are going to bring it. Their front four is pretty good, to say the least. They're going to try to create pressure, and I just think that the Jets are going to do something a little bit different to kind of catch them off guard. I'm going to go with the Jets in an upset in this one in Dallas.
Hey, I would like that. Even if I take the loss, I would like that because anytime Dallas loses is good for me. All right, the Washington Commanders here and the Denver Broncos. Denver really didn't show out a whole lot here of what we could maybe see out of the Sean Payton era. And Washington with Sam Howell really made some plays here. It was a little tight, again, like I said, early on against the Cardinals. But then they started to pull away and get things done here with Sam Howell. But this is tough. This is going to be a tough game. I think Denver's really licking their wounds after losing. I don't think Sean Payton likes to lose. Like that,
really?
Especially against
You don't think he likes to lose, huh?
It's so much. What's funny, though, too, did you hear? Now, I think we might have talked about this. I think even with Cody had brought it up about Bountygate. Like they really think that Sean Payton is starting another Bountygate.
There's some rumors going around
for Denver.
Rumors.
I don't buy that. I mean, but he was there when
There's
that
rumors.
did happen. But I thought that was more of a Greg Williams thing. But anyways,
he knew about it.
but,
Greg Williams took the fall.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but Washington, Denver, it's going to be tough. But I think I'm just going to side on Denver just and being home, and Sean Payton won't go 0-2.
I mean, here's the thing. I love the fact that Washington came out in week 1 and they got it done. They got their first W the first week. That's pretty cool. And that's kind of what we thought was going to happen. Mm-hmm. But this game is a little bit different. You're going into Denver. Denver's a tough team to play in Denver. They really are with the fans and everything. I don't think Sean Payton.
Yeah.
I don't think Sean Payton is going to lose 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
I think he's going to do everything in his power to make that, not happen here. So I'm going to go with Denver, real simple and quick. Broncos got a much better defense. They're going to put on tremendous pressure on Washington because Washington really doesn't have an O-line either.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. The 2 Monday night games. Oh, wait, we've got Miami and New England still on Sunday night.
Don't forget that one.
New England, Miami.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
what a good
night
night game.
Yeah.
I like that.
It could be. And again, that New England team is kind of funny. Again, is just they're about scheming. They're always in it, no matter what, wherever you think the personnel might be.
True.
I know Mac Jones taking a lot of slack for even last week, but he didn't lose that game for them. You know what I mean?
No,
They just
no.
couldn't get it done. I mean, he's doing well for them, but this is tough. Miami usually does well against New England, especially when they're home in Miami. But this one happens to be in Foxborough. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough. Maybe Bill Belichick can dial something up here to take down Tua in Miami. Mm-hmm. It'll be close. But I don't know. I think Miami's just too powerful for these guys. I think the defense, no matter what, just can't get it done here. It's going to be close, but I like the Miami Dolphins here to edge out New England. It's a different era now in that AFC East.
It definitely is. So. A lot of changes, a lot of excitement there, a lot of competition. The one thing that kind of concerns me about the Patriots is after week 1, Trent Brown, their starting left tackle, right tackle, I don't know what he plays now, but he had a concussion. And I don't know how severe it is, so he hasn't practiced up to this point. And if he has to miss this game, it's going to be a big deal. Same thing with the other 2 offensive linemen that have banged up as of last week. Cole Strange at guard and David Andrews at center. Their O-line took a beating. I mean, they were really getting thrown around. Devontae Parker, he looks like he's going to return this week, so they get another weapon back. So good for the Patriots. Dolphins are pretty healthy, actually, after week 1. So they come away week 1 unscathed. I got Miami in this one. I like the firepower that Tua and company put together, and I think it's going to be tough for the Patriots to stop, honestly.
Yep, absolutely. Here next we got the 2 games now on Monday Night Football. The New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers here, Joe. Carolina struggled a little more than I thought they would. But still, again, they're a team building that we also thought they might be, but they struggled a bit. But New Orleans got it going again. I love the play too at the end of the game here. Derek Carr, throwing it deep on that. On 4th down. Mm-hmm. In 4th down, they just need a little bit to get the first down, and they got the balls to throw it deep. And what a beautiful play! What a beautiful play. But Carolina, like I said, their rebuild. New Orleans, I think they're poised to take the division and make a playoff push here. I'm going to just take the New Orleans Saints flat out in this one.
Yeah, Panthers, they got their rookie quarterback. They're trying to make things happen, but man, you're facing a giant this week. The Saints, they go marching in, and their defense looked really tenacious last week. I think that not only is their defense going to give them problems, but offensively, they got a lot of weapons at their disposal. Chris Olave, Shaheed is starting to step up in that receiving core. Yeah, I got the Saints all day long.
Absolutely. All right, next up, finally here, we've got the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Pittsburgh, tough loss for them. If, the thing we do find out about Kenny Pickett with him, the concussion, and if he does somehow get found out about that could be a big game changer here for them. Or if he is suffering from one and nobody's finding about anything and he still decides to play, that could be another factor in its own too, as if he still plays. But overall, with all of it, the way they played last week, weren't able really to stop the run at all. And then with the weapons that, San Francisco had, it just made it easy for them to score on offense and air too as well. But giving up 170 plus yards on the ground is not very good.
No.
And when you've got Cleveland there with that offensive line now and Nick Chubb, he's going to eat all day long too. I think he's going to eat like crazy. And then you're going to just expect that Deshaun Watson, again, not to make the mistakes. Make some plays with his legs too, like he did last week. Don't be afraid.
He's not afraid.
Do that as well, and then get it going here. I like the Cleveland Browns here to maybe upset if it is, in Pittsburgh, because a lot of times
I guess
Pittsburgh wins at home against this team against Cleveland.
I guess you can call Pittsburgh the favorite in this one just because they're home and coming off of a embarrassing loss really to the Niners. I feel like they're gonna really put in some work here, but not like they're not injured.
Yeah.
Cam Hayward is now going to be missing significant time.
Yep.
So they missed their key cog on the D line really.
Yeah.
Who was it? Oh, Deontay Johnson also is going to be. He's on the short-term IR, missing the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Another weapon down. George Pickens, it's up to you, bub.
Yep.
But that's a lot to ask of this offense and defense. I got Cleveland is really rolling as of week 1. Love to see what they were able to do with their defense. Their offense does look improved as far as Deshaun Watson goes. Yeah, he didn't have a great stat line. He had an okay stat line, but I think it's going to build momentum as they go farther down through the season. I got Cleveland.
All right, there you go, and that's it. That's our picks. That's our show for the week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for the comments out there. Again, we have a lot of bunch of different know-it-alls that are
That's right. Yeah, thanks for all the comments, everybody. Really appreciate it. We got some OG know-it-alls from day one that kind of chimed in. That was awesome. Thanks, everybody out there. Listen, if you're new to the show, do us a huge favor, or invite someone else that likes to talk football. Go head over to YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Also, hit that notification bell. Let you guys know when we go live. And yes, you can follow us on Facebook as well and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next week.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday nights for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.